Hello everybody and welcome to Notorious Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm Notorious Cly and we're not going to do a heavy intro today. We have a lot to get through. It is deck profile time for Roaring Soul Resonators, except for this time it's official. The cards are in Duel Links. I've been playtesting them for the last couple of days here, and I really think I'm close to having a list I feel good about. And the first one that I'm going to show you is my 20 card Roaring Soul build that you see up on the screen here. Before we get started, I do want to just take a quick moment to say that although I feel confident in my information, my thoughts, my opinions, there's no way I can possibly be right or have possibly discovered the most optimal build of this deck so far. It's very likely that we haven't even discovered the best possible version of this deck as a community yet. It's still too early. These cards have been legal, the skill has been legal for a little over 24 hours, about 36 hours now. There's no way anyone can say definitively that this list is X, Y, or Z. We can have strong thoughts and opinions on Roaring Soul Resonators. I know I do. But I'm not willing to say anything definitively yet. I'm willing to accept the possibility that what I'm saying is wrong. Or even if it's right now, it may not be right tomorrow, a week from now, or even like 3 hours from now, you know? These cards are still new, the skill is still new, we are still too early in the process to say anything with absolute authority. One thing I hope you guys have learned about me, and I hope one thing that comes across about me is I'm a big believer in strong beliefs held loosely. I have very strong opinions, thoughts, and beliefs, and I'm willing to stand behind them. However, when presented with a new perspective, new information, or something that challenges that belief or thoughts and can make a convincing argument in a different way or adds a new piece of the puzzle to my belief system or whatever, I'm holding everything loosely enough that I'm willing to accept new information and change and adjust what I believe as necessary. This is very much the same. With all that being said, everything you see now could change. The thoughts and reasonings behind why I'm playing what I'm playing could change. But for now, this is what I've been playing, this is what's been working for me, and this was what I believe to be a good Roaring Soul Resonator list. And I'll give you all of the information why now. Let's go by... Do we want to just do left to right, or do we want to do by type of card? Let's just do left to right, and I'll just talk a little bit about each card. We'll just do a standard card by card. So 2 Wandering King Wildwind. I was initially on Wildwind and then off Wildwind, but now went back because Wildwind presents a very critical piece of the puzzle for this deck, which is like, what do I do for follow-up? And occasionally the answer is you have a Resonator in rotation, an accessible Resonator somewhere, or a way to get to a Resonator, and you get Wildwind and you do the old synchro climb. I think that's good. Playing 2 Wildwind also allows you to do something when Crimson is the only Resonator that you open in your hand. So normally if you open Crimson Resonator as the only Fiend type monster in your hands, you'll send it for skill, then from the deck, if you're not playing Wildwind, you'll have to send another Resonator. And that kills a little bit of your follow-up and you lose a little bit of value there. But if you have a level 4 Dark Fiend type monster in your deck, like Wildwind, you can send that from your deck to the graveyard instead, and then add Red Sprinter. So what this means is you still have your full combo. Crimson is still okay to combo with because you have the Red Sprinter bringing it back from graveyard. And then Wildwind is in the graveyard getting you a Resonator on the following turn, which could be critical for trying to find a way to follow up, or finding a way to just put just enough damage on board to find lethal. So I'm back on Wildwind. Think it offers just a little bit too much to be excluded entirely. Next up is 2 copies of Archfiend Eccentric. This card is a powerhouse in this build. I really love Archfiend Eccentric. There's only one instance in which I don't like it, but we'll get to that in a second. So Archfiend Eccentric is a very slow MST. It is also a exiled force, and it's a Fiend type monster. So you can destroy one of your opponent's back row if you put it in the Pendulum Scale. You can destroy 1 monster on the field if you normal summon it, and it's a Fiend, so you can just pitch it to the graveyard for combo. That's crazy. There's another build that capitalizes on the fact that Archfiend Eccentric is light, and if you send it from your hand to the graveyard to activate skill, it stays in the graveyard even though it's a Pendulum monster. but that's for later in the video, or maybe another video depending on how long this one runs. We'll see. So Eccentric, powerhouse, love it. In bigger builds, I've been playing Eccentric at 3 copies just because I love it that much, and I think it offers way too much value to not be included. Next up is 1 copy of Santa Claus. I've been teetering between 1 and 2 Santa Claus, depending on how I'm feeling, really. I don't think there's an incorrect answer as for the right number of Santa Claus to play right now, but I do think you should be playing Santa Claus. There's a case for Radiant, but I like Santa Claus better just because I can get it onto my side of the field easier and potentially make a synchro play. It's very rarely or almost never going to come up, but it's there. It's there if I need it. And even if kaijus aren't good across all matchups, it still makes sense to play Santa Claus or to play Radiant if you want to be on the team Radiant, because you're not punished for playing kaiju, not punished for playing Santa Claus, you're not punished for playing Radiant. It doesn't matter if they're good enough in the matchup. You can always just send them from your hand to the graveyard to activate your skill. They're combo starters that also double as spot monster removal. Same thing goes with Archfiend Eccentric. It's a back row removal card, that's its primary purpose, that also doubles as a combo starter, and occasionally can, pop one of your opponent's monsters. So crazy value out of these 2 monsters, so I would highly recommend playing them if you can. Next up is 2 copies of Red Sprinter. I've been wanting to try out 3 Red Sprinter, but as you can see, I only have the 2 copies, so looks like I'm stuck playing 2. Sprinter is probably the best card for follow-up. Anytime I open Sprinter and another Fiend in hand, I feel pretty good about it, because it means if my opponent manages to deal with my board, I can normal summon Sprinter, summon back one of the Resonators I put in the grave over my last turn, and then combo off and go from there and hopefully win. You need to play at least 2. Playing 1 is incorrect because you always have a chance to draw it, and if you do, your skill's dead, and you should be building this deck around the skill. I was debating whether or not to put this little tidbit or thought in the video, but I think I'm going to. So I've seen a handful of people online talk about how the new skill is trash, how it's bad, how Demon's Resonance is better, and they're saying it with 100% authority. And then when I ask them about it, ask them why, they give me like vague answers or no answers at all, and they just go, "It's trash, bro." And I go, "Let me see your deck list. Just let me see what you're working with. Let me see how you built your deck, and maybe I can figure out why you're having a bad time with the new skill." And every time they send me their deck list, most of the time they don't, because infer whatever you would like to infer from that. But when they send me their deck list, or they tell me what they're doing, they're playing the Demon's Resonance build of Resonators, but they just added a Red Sprinter or 2 Red Sprinters. To me, this is one of my strong opinions, held loosely, and I'm willing to be challenged on this. Please sound off in the comments if you think I'm wrong. To me, to build Roaring Soul Resonators like Demon's Resonance Resonators is incorrect. It's wrong. I usually don't like saying that, just because, again, I don't ever like being so absolute about everything, so definitive about everything, because I'm very well aware of my own limitations of intelligence and general awareness, I guess. But to me, it's wrong. They're 2 completely different skills, and they function 2 completely different ways, and they want you to build your deck 2 completely different ways. Demon's Resonance wants you to play a high concentration of Resonators, so you always have a Resonator available to trade out for a non-tuner, so you can combo off. It also wants you to play a high concentration of Resonators, so if you do open your tuner and non-tuner and you can play, you can swap out an extra Resonator for a additional piece of interaction, whether it be like Doom Caliber Knight or Skullmeister or whatever else you've managed to tech in. They want you to play a lot of Resonators. They're trying to accommodate your 2-card combo hand. And Roaring Soul Resonators isn't doing that at all. It doesn't want you to play 2 cards. They don't want you to do that. They want you to heavily rely on your normal summon. That's what they want. They want you to play a high enough concentration of Fiends so you always have 1, so you could turn that 1 Fiend into a 1-card combo. And then they want you to be explosive and aggressive. The skills are trying to get you to do 2 different things. So don't build the Demon's Resonance Resonator build and expect it to translate perfectly for Roaring Soul. They're two completely different skills. One wants you to go 1 card, all gas, no breaks. The other wants you to go 2 card and, I don't know, play it like you would a traditional Resonator list. This is not going to play like a traditional Resonator list. And that's okay. It's 100% okay. And it's absolutely okay if you don't like the new skill. But to call it trash because you're not willing to meet it on its terms is just wrong. It's just wrong. I don't really know what else to say. Sorry for the rant, but I feel like that might be helpful for some of you to hear. Not that I'm calling you wrong or I think you're wrong, but like maybe it like made you go, aha, yeah, I agree with that, totally. And then the next time you go to try and toy around your Roaring Soul Resonator list, like that'll be echoing in the back of your mind, like lose the Demon's Resonance baggage. Try to take this as its own thing. Meet it on its own terms. Try to have an objective view of how you should build this deck. And if I am going to continue this tangent, I think the fundamental idea behind this deck needs to be 1 card, all gas, no breaks. Maximize the amount of interaction you can get out of 1 combo, out of your guaranteed 1 combo, and then find ways to protect the end board that your 1 combo will make, or find ways to clear the path for your 1 combo to go off. In my opinion, that's what we should be doing. We shouldn't worry a ton about trying to set up follow-up. We shouldn't worry a ton about grind game because we're not going to get there. This skill doesn't let you get there. It only gives you 1 activation. The archetype doesn't lend itself to very grindy games. It's normally an all gas no breaks deck. You're trying to make big gigantic synchro climbs, to make big F off monsters and smash your opponent for a ton of damage and break their board or remove everything. You don't want to play in the grind game, so let's not worry about that. Let's not worry about follow up too much, because if your turn 1 board sticks, you win, you know? Or if you can remove all your opponent's interaction and get to your, you know, big FF monsters with removal effects and gigantic attack, you should win too, because your opponent's out of resources. You've broken their board, you've taken them for everything they own, you know? Okay, rant over. Next card. 1 copy of Crimson Resonator. This seems sacrilegious, but what do you need the 2nd and 3rd copy for? What are you going to do with them? Maybe open Crimson and Wildwind and try to play the 2-card combo version of Resonators? I mean, you can. I think it'll work. I think there's some good builds out there that do that, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm playing the 1 copy because I think that's all you need. You need the 1 for your combo, and playing more does help you because it gives you more fiends to potentially have in your hand, so you can send 1 from your hand to the graveyard to activate your skill. But if I'm going to be sending a fiend from my hand to the graveyard to activate my skill, I want that potential fiend in my hand to have more uses than just I'm a tuner, because in reality that's really all Crimson Resonator does in the hand. It's a tuner. It doesn't do anything on its own. It can't do anything on its own. It needs a non-tuner to actually do anything. And the perk and the cool thing and the awesome part of the skill is you don't need multiple cards to do anything. You can just do it all off of 1 card. And then all the other cards can support that 1 card that's doing it all. And next up is 3 copies of Red Resonator. This is another card I was on, then I was off, and then I'm back on. And for a good reason. The Synchron creation thing came because for Resonators, tuners in your hands aren't really that good. They don't offer a ton of value. So I wanted to shrink the package as much as possible. If I was going to do that, Synchron creation offered a lot of versatility is the wrong word, but it offered a lot of utility because Synchron could recycle creation could special summon itself. And there was a Scarlight OTK line that I thought might be useful. And the Scarlight OTK line would be, you would go dump Fiend, dump Crimson from deck to graveyard, add Sprinter, normal Sprinter, bring back Crimson, Synchro for Red Rising, bring back Crimson, Crimson effect, summon Synchron, summon creation, Crimson Resonator and Red Rising, Synchro for Scarlight effect, destroy Synchron, Creation, and one monster your opponent controls, hopefully, which would be 750 burn damage. And then Synchron triggers its effect because it was sent from the field to the graveyard to target one Resonator in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. You add Creation, and then you special Creation from your hand because you control a level 8 or higher Synchro monster. And then you have Scarlight with 3000 attack, Creation with 800 attack, and you burned your opponent for 750, so you have lethal. That OTK line has not come up a single time in any of my duels. So after I realized that, I went back to red, and red is also theoretically good because it lends itself to additional follow-up. Because if you have red plus Sprinter in your hand, you get normal red Resonator and then special the Sprinter. If you have another monster, you know, because normally Sprinter wouldn't be able to get anything else because you control another monster. So you'd be able to get your second Tinker play going while you still control a monster. And red plus Wildwind is also a follow-up combo that exists. So there's theoretically some follow-up that red provides. And the extra life points is kind of nice. It's always nice to have that extra little cushion to keep your opponent off of lethal. Is 3 copies of Forbidden Lance. To me, this is mandatory because it protects your end board. Because, you know, you can't get Book of Moons if you have Forbidden Lance set with your Synchro Monster and Red Rain. You know, you basically just get the Force Red Rain through, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. And then it also fulfills the role of help you build your end board, help your combo go off. There's a handful of times where I've normal Sprinter, she'll summon Crimson back from graveyard. They go to book the Crimson to try and keep me off Synchro play at all. And Forbidden Lance, target Crimson, Crimson stays face up, and it's GG from there. So great card. I think it's mandatory in this list. And it's also nice that when you're running the 3 Lance and you're running something like Archfiend Eccentric, you have the best of both worlds. You have back row removal, and you have back row negation or protection. So you have both protection and removal, which is really, really nice. I think I forgot to bring up the one instance in which Eccentric isn't that great, and that's against Time Lords because their stuff is resistant to being destroyed. Specifically, their back row is resistant to being destroyed, but that hasn't come up too much yet. It's been a little annoying and a little frustrating, but I've still managed to control the tempo of the duel enough to find an opening and win against Time Lords. I don't think I've lost yet against Time Lords, which is cool because that's a matchup I was concerned about because it nullifies Eccentric and nullifies Red Rain, and that's 4 cards out of my deck that are kind of not so good anymore, plus a bunch of stuff in my extra deck that's not so good anymore because I can't destroy their monsters, but hasn't been a problem yet. We'll see though. Do Forbidden Chalice. Drop the 2 Book of Moon because I didn't think Book of Moon did enough. Honestly, now that I'm stuck sitting here trying to explain why I chose to keep Forbidden Chalice over Book of Moon, can't really come up with a good reason. So, strong belief held loosely. Play whatever generic staple you have. I like Forbidden Chalice. I think it's good. I think it offers a lot of coverage. I think it has a lot of use cases. I also like that it has some game against Time Lords. It allows me to negate their effects while keeping them face up in attack position, which means I can smash them for a ton of damage. So yeah, that's why I'm playing Forbidden Chalice. Book of Moon is also cool. I mean, staples are staples for a reason, right? And then our next staple is Compulse. I dug through the selection box to get Compulse. To me, this card was very, very important for this list because it gives you something very powerful to do if you don't find a way to Red Rain by hard opening Red Rain or searching it. And Compulse can be something that helps protect your board by removing a opponent's problematic monster before it can use its effect. And it can also be used to break boards. There's been a couple duels where I've looked at my opponent's board, didn't like what they had going for them, set my back row, whether it be like Chalice, Compulse, and Lance, or I think there was a duel where I had 2 Compulse and I think it was Lance. I can't remember the last one, but I had 2 Compulse, and I didn't commit to the board. Knowing that I wasn't going to be able to resolve my 1 guaranteed combo, I said, okay, 2 Compulse, take me home. And they did. I was able to use them effectively to bounce stuff off my opponent's board to help break their board, and clear the way so the rest of my cards in my hand could get through their interaction and I can win the duel. So Compulse is very, very good. Very good because it can protect you and also help break your opponent's board. And yeah, it's great. It's limited 3 for a reason. I think I should talk about the other limit 3s right now. I was playing Floodgate Triple until I got Compulse, and playing Floodgate Triple is what led me to go dig for Compulse, because Floodgate Triple just wasn't doing enough. It was great at preventing my opponent from doing something, but it couldn't create openings to help me win, and that's what I love about Compulse. It can create openings. Crackdown. I don't like Crackdown on this list because you don't have a great way to get rid of your opponent's monsters, so they're just gonna sit there waiting for your opponent to eventually top their MST. And it shuts off Red Sprinter, which is not good because you'll control a monster on your side of the field. And it shuts off Crimson's effect, so you're losing value everywhere with Crackdown. Losing a ton of value everywhere with Crackdown. And I think there was another reason why I didn't like Crackdown, but I can't quite remember. But yeah, that's it. I just think you lose a ton of value. Shuts off Sprinter, shuts off Crimson, and yeah, generally no bueno. And normally you need a lot of your monster zones free so you can do big combos. So assuming you're waiting on that one big combo, and Crackdown's going to get in the way. And the next up is 2 copies of Red Rain. I've been oscillating between playing 1 and 2 of these. Right now I'm trying the 2 Red Rain just to see how much I like hard opening it. And it's great when I hard open it and go first, and it feels really bad when I hard open it going second, because I know it could theoretically be any one of these other cards that could help me break my opponent's board. I might take the 1 Red Rain out and add an Obsessive Oovaloop, because Oovaloop is a 1 card, Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend plus Red Rain. So I think that would kind of get me the best of both worlds. It would get me another card that kind of does something. It's a tuner I can search off Wildwind. It's a tuner I can summon Wildwind onto the board with, and lets me search Red Rain. So it does a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm thinking about cutting this back down to 1, but I really wanted to play test 2 just to see how I liked it. I need to really dial in the correct ratio of Red Rain, because it's a win condition. Normally you have to go to your extra deck for the win condition, but there it is. It's right there. It's in your main deck this time, and it's searchable, so that's great. On to the extra deck. The extra deck, I'm still on 2 Red Rising. Sometimes I kind of want a 3rd, but every time I want a 3rd, I remind myself that had I played better, or had a 50-50 snipe back row gone a different way, I wouldn't need the 3rd Red Rising. I still think that's how I'm going to operate. I still think that I'm going to operate under the assumption that if I need the 3rd Red Rising, something has gone horribly wrong and I should have won already, or I was probably never going to win anyways. Then 2 Darkened Dragon, just to give me 2 valid targets for the Red Rising Dragon. Another thing I liked about Wildwind is Wildwind can be used pretty well offensively in the hand, because now that I'm back on a bunch of 2s, I can do my normal double Darken play, and I liked having enough Darkens in there to OTK just in case it came up. And then 2 copies of Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend. The second one really hasn't come up, and I really want to find a place for Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane in this list, because there's a lot of times where I could go Scarlight, normal summon a top decked red, or a red that I got off of Wildwind, and go into Bane and then potentially do some things, but I really haven't found the right card to take out for Bane. I think the second copy of Scarlight might be it. Other than that, fantastic card, love it. The burn into Smashing Face has come up a bunch. Then 1 copy of Red Nova Dragon, because that's theoretically all you need. And Nova's been doing well in the matchups that I actually summon it. It's great, but it's nice that it's not my default go-to. I need to get to Red Nova at all costs. Theoretically, one of the best end boards you can make in this deck is hard open Red Rain, make Red Nova Dragon, and then set Forbidden Lance, which is like pretty doable. It's not like hyper consistent, but it comes up enough, and you feel like a god every time it does, because they go Book of Moon, Red Nova Dragon, you go Forbidden Lance, and they go, well, shit. So, love Red Nova Dragon. There may be a part of me that wants to try taking it out just to see how much I miss it, and try putting Bane in its place, and that way I keep the 2 Scarlights just in case something weird happens. But we'll see. We'll see. And then Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. Love this card. This card is fantastic. I severely underrated how how prevalent this card's weaknesses would be. This card's amazing. It's so much pressure on your opponent. I think I mentioned that last video, that it had theoretically had a bunch of pressure it could apply to your opponent because it's just a nuke sitting there waiting to go off and wipe out everything, wipe out all their advantage. And yeah, it's doing that. If I hard open Red Rain and I'm going first, I like making Tyrant. I don't need to search Red Rain if I've already opened it. And if I have something that can also help protect Tyrant, I'm definitely going to go for it. Because if I can protect it, I have Red Rain to disrupt my opponent or in a roundabout way protect Tyrant. And then I have Tyrant on the field. It tells my opponent, you have like 2 turns to figure this out. You're going to get this turn to figure it out. Then you're going to have your next turn to figure it out, because I'm only going to be able to hit you for 35 because Tyrant's the only monster that can attack the turn it nukes everything. But yeah, 2 turns, figure it out. Draw the out, have the out. And your out better be convincing enough that it could play around my counters. So love Tyrant, fantastic. Anytime I can make this going first and set Red Rain, I do. It's the move. Applies so much pressure, so good. And that's the 20 card deck list, everybody. Cards that I wish I was playing. The one Oovaloop would be nice. I really do like all the value that Oovaloop provides, but I really wanted to try playing without it, and just, you know, instead of going, oh, I'll play Oovaloop for the 1 card Scarlight plus Red Rain, I really wanted to play just 2 Red Rain, see how that worked, see if like, hey, maybe opening Red Rain more frequently, just hard opening it would be okay. Still haven't reached a decision there. Leaning towards going down to 1. But one of the reasons why I cut Oovaloop is because in my play experience, it's been really good when you open it, but then it's been a really bad top deck. Like a really bad top deck, just because it's another one of those cards that like doesn't do anything on its own and needs something else paired with it to really rock out, or it needs graveyard setup to actually like get itself on the field for free. So it's been really great when I open it, but not so great when I see it like mid-duel when I'm trying to close it out. So that's why I'm not playing Oovaloop in this list. Alright everybody, I've been recording for about a half hour now. That usually means this video is going to be about 20 minutes, which is right where I want it. So I think we did a really good job of the card by card on this one, so we're just going to check out a couple other lists. That way you can see them. I can give you any quick thoughts on there, and I won't have to do a full explanation of everything because there's a lot of carryover between lists. So let's jump over to the other lists. This is my 30 card Roaring Soul Resonator build. And the idea behind playing 30 cards is I can fit a whole ton of stuff in here, and it doesn't hurt my consistency at all because all I need is 1 Fiend. I could play extra Crimsons, extra Wildwinds, extra Oovaloops for, you know, follow-up combo potential. I can play extra copies of Eccentric just to like up the total number of back row removal cards. I can play a ton of Flex and tech spots. And if you count them up, I got 3 Eccentric, 2 Santa, 3 Book, 3 Lance, so that's 11. That's probably embarrassing that I gotta count on my fingers, but it's late and I just talked for like a half hour straight, so give me a break. And then 3 Chalice, so that's 14, and then 2 Compulse, that's 16, and then if you want to count Red Rain, that's 18, but if you don't, because you want to consider Red Rain Engine, that's 16 flex spots, 16 tech cards that I've managed to fit in this list, and I don't lose consistency at all. I just don't lose consistency because all I need is 1 Fiend, and I'm playing a high enough number that I'm almost always going to see it. And if I don't see 1 Fiend, oh no, I've drawn Book of Moon, Chalice, Lance, Compulse, whatever will I do with 3 interactions on my opponent's turn, you know? So that's the 30 card list. I like this one. I think it has a potentially higher ceiling and higher upside than the 20 card list, but I think it's a little worse at producing 1 Fiend hands plus 3 of your tech cards, your utility cards. So I've been favoring the 20 card just a little bit more, just because I tend to get the 1 Fiend plus Forbidden Lance, Forbidden Chalice, and Compulse hands, and I really like those hands because they do a whole lot. And I don't really think there's much else to say. Let's go check out one other build, and then we'll get out of here. This was the deck list that I mentioned earlier that I was trying to take advantage of sending a Eccentric from your hand to the graveyard via skill, and it's cast Roaring Resonators. Roaring Chaos. I think I like that name better. So the idea behind this is if you resolve your combo, if you get to go turn 1 unobstructed, you set up your grave with chaos typings. We were already pretty much doing that with the other lists, but this one is a little more fine-tuned to like always make sure we have chaos typings in the graveyard and an adequate number for Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, because Legionnaire is in theory really good follow-up, and also can be really good on your turn 1 board, kind of, maybe, because you can hand rip your opponent. Don't know if hand ripping them for 1 is worth it in addition to going full combo. I think holding the Legionnaire for the follow-up is probably better, because that way you can just get a big body on the board and have enough damage, or you can get a Levy on the board and you banish lights and darks and you can pop 2. I think it's better for follow-up, but I really want to pull off the hand loop and just make this biggest, most F-off board I possibly could. This list is definitely a lot less refined than the others because I haven't been able to playtest it. Please, somebody playtest it for me. Let me know how it does. Let me know what adjustments I can make. The only key differences between this list and the others are I haven't added Compulse in here yet. And I'm just realizing why I haven't added Compulse in here yet. It's because Legionnaire is a limit 3, and so is Melody of Waking Dragon, so my limit 3 spots are taken up. So I'm playing 2 Book of Moon instead. Not as good as Compulse, but hopefully Legionnaire would make up for the difference. Playing more Eccentrics because if I see it in my hand, it's a good send off a skill because it puts a light in the graveyard. Santa is a nice light in the graveyard that can get there either by skill or by us removing it from our opponent's side of the board. Sprinter is here because you need it. And then the Resonators, I am playing Dark Resonator and Mirror Resonator because they are, I guess, the best light and dark targets. We have better dark targets, but we don't have a light or dark level 3 that's like super good. So we're playing the OG. We're giving them some run. And it's got 13 on attack, which is kind of nice, you know? And first time this card would be destroyed by battle, each turn it's not destroyed. How you gonna top that? You can't destroy it by battle unless you smash it twice. What are you gonna do when Dark Resonator comes for you? I should probably have tried like a Macho Man voice there, but I'm tired, everybody. Mirror Resonator is kind of cool because it can special summon itself back from the graveyard, or I believe it's from your hand as well, if your opponent controls a face-up monster that was special summoned from the extra deck. So that's cool to always be able to get, you know, something back from the graveyard. And yeah, I'm playing enemy controller just because I wasn't able to play Compulse, so I have another like offensive defensive card. I can always tribute off something, putting another light or dark in the graveyard, and then take my opponent's monster, and then try to smash face with it or synchro summon with it if the levels permit. So that's always pretty neat. And then I'm playing 1 copy of Red Rain in here just because I don't think 2 is the correct. I don't believe 2 is the correct number in this particular build. And then in the extra deck, we got normal lineup. The only thing I changed was dropped 1 Dark End for Cypher and Lord Zeta. Since I'm not playing a bunch of 2s, I don't think the level 8 synchro follow-up is going to be that prevalent. But I really wanted to be able to capitalize on having a level 3 tuner in the deck. I just wanted to have something in case it comes up. And Zeta is also a light type, so that works with the chaos typings. And overall, it's not a bad card. Alright everybody, that's going to be it for the deck profiles, and I think we should close this out with just some random thoughts that I've had bouncing around in my head. So I kind of got one of them out in the little rant that I had earlier, which is please, when you're building a Roaring Soul Resonators deck list, try not to bring the preconceived notions you have about the archetype to that list. Don't bring preconceived notions about deck building with Demon's Resonance in mind to building your Roaring Soul list. I don't think those builds are bad. I think they can be pretty good. I think there's probably some really good builds out there that are trying to play like traditional Resonators, but just using the skill as like an emergency card starter. But I think there's way too much potential with the skill to just be ignored like that. Another random thought I had is don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is okay. We all fail. I fail every day. Look at me. I'm a gigantic failure, and you guys are here watching my video. So what does that tell you? Don't be afraid to fail. It's going to happen. And don't beat yourself up when something doesn't work out like you wanted it to. Just learn from it, get better. And I think that's what I'm going to keep doing. And I'm pretty sure I have some more thoughts bouncing around in my head, but I can't really pull them out. Hopefully this video was informative and you guys got a lot of good insights and some information. And I'm looking forward to hearing all of your insight and your information and all of your experiences with playing this list. So please don't be afraid to share them with me. I might poke and prod a little bit and ask you some questions, and you know, might get a little uncomfortable sometimes, maybe. But know that I'm doing it with the best intentions. It's because I'm infinitely curious about what this deck can do and what it can be, and what the real best way to play it is, what the real best way to build it is. And part of it is me trying to gather enough information to see if I'm right or wrong about something, so I can grow, adjust, change, and get better. And I'll see you all on the next video. I have a live duel with commentary video ready to go. I recorded it before any of my playtesting. It was actually my first 3 duels ever with Roaring Soul Resonators, and it's kind of funny. It was funny going back and editing it and watching the you know, mess up the fine print of the skill a couple times. But I think it's good. I think it's a video I definitely am excited to put out, and I'm not scared that I misplayed in the video because it's the first time I ever played with the deck, and I think it's good for everybody to see like real examples of what playing Yu-Gi-Oh and growing with Yu-Gi-Oh and getting better at Yu-Gi-Oh looks like. I think it's a little unfair that we're always left with the cherry-picked replays and the best case scenarios being showcased and highlighted for us on all of our channels. So you guys are going to get the real deal. And we're going to be doing more live play with commentaries. We're also going to be able to do some replays with commentaries. And yeah, that's it. It's going to be a lot of stuff coming with this deck. I hope you're excited for it, because I am very excited to share it with all of you. And until next time, be safe, have fun, everybody.